joining me on my pathway to podiatry. Hey! So today I have two very special guests with me. This is Jana and this is Stephanie, and they are joining me today to help give you guys some information about how you can prepare for the boards. We have a couple of questions that we're going to answer regarding general things, about how we studied, what resources we used. So we're going to get all into that. So if you guys enjoy this content, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and give this video a big thumbs up. Also, if we don't cover any questions, make sure you leave a comment down below and we'll be sure to answer those questions for you. And I will also leave their information, their Instagrams down in the description. They're third-year medical students just like I am, so if you're interested in seeing their pathway, then you can go ahead and follow them. For those of you who don't know, the subjects for the board exam are lower extremity anatomy, gross anatomy, pharmacology, microbiology, biochemistry, physiology, and pathology. Our questions will be encompassing all of those subjects. The first question that we have is, how long did you take to prepare for boards?
I started kind of midway between spring semester. So spring semester starts in January and ends in May, so maybe around March or so I really started getting serious about studying, and then I just powered all the way through till July.
For me, I didn't start dedicating study time till the end of my spring semester. So it ended in May and I studied up until the test in July. So it was mid-May to mid-July, so 2 months.
Yeah, me too. So I started on May all the way to July because we had the spring semester and it was really hard.
Yeah, it was. Our school is different or similar to other schools in that we do have a summer semester while studying for boards. We only had to take 2 classes because of the pandemic. We didn't have to take a lab. So just keep that in mind as we answer these questions. Next question was, what were the resources that you used?
Okay, so for lower extremity and upper extremity, Dr. Kali was very useful because he gave us PowerPoints. So I would just read through them, especially for upper. Lower, I would do his PowerPoints plus Kent's book. This one is really good because it has pictures, it explains everything really well, and pictures are colorful, which I liked. And I also use my old notes with drawings that I used to do, and his questions, because Dr. Kali would do questions too. Farm, I would do some of this book because it divides each subject, and each subject would have a farm section, so I would read that. And sketchy, that saved my butt. I don't know if I can say that, but saved my butt. Micro, I did the book, some of it, but mostly sketchy. Path, I did the book. Physiology, did the book. Biochemistry, did the book. Yeah. So that's what I use. I also, towards the end, I used the Anki. Mm-hmm. Those were very helpful. And I also used the Boards Vitals for questions. The questions from Boards Vital, they're not the same mostly, but they really help me with the description that they give you at the end of every question that you answer. Those were very helpful.
So for the most part, my resources were the same. Dr. Kali, he had PowerPoints for both lower and gross, and he did reviews for gross. So it wasn't all of the lectures that we had for gross when we were taking it, just his reviews, because they were very concise. And for the most, I think it covered any possible question that I got on my board, so it was very good. I used the Anki decks after I had finished watching all the videos for Sketchy, Micro, and Farm. The thing is, I used the USMLE book, but I did stop using it midway into my studying. And people say don't do that. I would tell you don't do that. I would have continued using it, but I'll get to that in a later question. So I just had a deck for Pathoma, for Path, and that I was doing on Anki. I started BRS for Physio, but I did not finish. I think I got into 3 chapters, and it just got too overwhelming with the amount of work I was doing each day, so I couldn't keep up with it. For Biochemistry, I mostly used the USMLE Step 1, and I also used the reviews that our professor, Dr. Shaw, provided to us He had like 3 review PowerPoints, and I used those. And I used Board Vitals a lot. I was also using a subscription service called Boards and Beyond that has videos for each of the sections and pages for the USMLE book.
So for PATH, I also use Dr. Caldwell's PowerPoint. They were very useful. They were very similar to the USMLE book, just less information. Straight to the point, and those were very helpful too.
So for me, I pretty much did the same thing with lower extremity and growth. I used our professor's PowerPoints and the board's reviews that he was doing. He would do questions, like rapid fire questions, and cover everything pretty much we needed to know for growth. So I didn't have to go back and like find a lot of resources for that. And then for lower, I also used the Ohio picture book. And then I combined it with the word book. So I would fill in the blanks in the picture book with the word book, but it was pretty much the same. Yeah. But I got to a point where I had everything that I needed in that book in the PowerPoint, so I was fine. And then for pathology and pharm, I would use the USMLE Step 1 book, but then I would also use Pathoma. I would also use Sketchy. I would also use Anki, so I kind of had a mix of things for that because there's a lot of information in pathology, and you can get kind of lost in it in the Step 1 book because it's so detailed. So once you start seeing the Pathoma cards, they're asking certain things, or the Anki cards keep bringing up certain things, that will get stuck in your head. And then because our semester was a little rough, our spring and our summer, I kind of used information for those courses as well when I was studying. And then for micro, Sketchy. That was it. That's all I did. And just like Anki cards with the sketchy pictures to back it up. Physiology, which was a very tough subject for me. I did the same, and I kind of started with BRS, and then I was like, oh no, this is not going to work.
It was just too much.
Yeah, so I just went through the USMLE book, and I do like how it's structured. So you don't necessarily have to know every single detail, but it helps me organize my thoughts. And the biochem section is just one little section, and I went over that, and that's all I did for biochem. Pharm, I did Sketchy for pharm.
Do Sketchy.
Then,
because usually people don't want to do it because it's like a 20-minute video, so it's longer than micro. But let me tell you.
Things you would never think you'd remember. Sketchy just.
The next question we have is, after taking the boards, looking back at the resources that we did use, which ones did we think worked best? Like if we had to pick maybe top 3 that we definitely like would use again if we were to take them again.
Our professor's PowerPoints for lower and gross. That was a go. Sketchy. That was a go.
I would add to those 2 the board's vitals questions.
Yes, definitely.
I agree. Because you get a lot of good information with those.
Definitely.
And Sketchy for both micro and I could not have, because the thing is each subject is like a different percentage for the board exam. So you want to definitely make sure you have a good resource for lower, because that's the bulk of your exam. And then if you pick 2 other subjects with high percentages to add on to that, like you pick a power 3 or something like that, like Sketchy and our lower PowerPoints and the Ohio Kent's book, they were a good like bulk of that board exam. Which subject was hardest to prepare, study for, and which one was like the easiest to prepare, study for? And it's not because it's easy, but I feel like lower and gross, just anatomy in general, was easier for me because we TA'd for that class. And it was like we had taken it our freshman year. We kind of reviewed it again when we were TAing, and then when we were reviewing it again. It's not like I knew everything. I enjoyed studying anatomy. Like I enjoyed like, okay, I'm going to do this part for anatomy today. And then when it would get to like physio or something else, I'd be like, I have to study this, whatever. Hardest, I would say pharm. Definitely pharm for me. Definitely pharm for me.
Man.
And the thing is,
everyone's different.
Yeah, no, for me it's pharm, and it still is. Like for me, pharm is so difficult because I feel like when I was taking it, the course, and I didn't do Sketchy, I felt like I was only memorizing for the test, and then I forgot everything after I took the test. So that's why for me, even up till today, pharm is very difficult for me.
I feel like the easiest to study for, which is going to sound super weird, was pathology. But I just like path. I always enjoyed it. I loved the class. So when I was studying for it, it was kind of like a review. Of course, there were things I was like, what in the world is that? But it was easier to just remember those few details because I had known the class already. And the hardest to study for was physio for me. I would be looking at those notes like, what? What are you trying to teach me? And then I'd watch a video and I'd be like, okay, I got it. And then I would go back and be like, no, I don't have it. So physio was a challenge. But
for me, with Gabby, the easiest was lower extremity, overall anatomy, just because it's something that I really enjoy. And I feel like from the beginning we've studied so hard and just so well that it just clicks. And I really enjoy it, so that was my easiest. I didn't have to put that much into it because I already kind of knew everything. Thank God. Thank you, Dr. Collins.
Yes, thank you,
Dr.
Collins.
And then my hardest, I would say farm and physio, but farm. Damn, farm.
I just fun, guys.
It's not that it's not fun. It's hard for me. It's really hard, and I just wish I would have done sketchy. I feel like it would have been better.
The next question was, what was your typical day or week schedule for studying?
I feel like everyone's different from what I remember. I'm a morning person, so I used to wake up around maybe 6:30 because I like to eat breakfast, I read my Bible, I pray. So I like to do all those things in a calm environment. I don't like to wake up rushing into my desk. So after all that, I think I just went to my room, to my desk, and I think I would start around 8 by that time. So I would start around 8 and then finish around 11:30, sometimes 12. And then that will be my schedule every day until July. Non-stop.
For me, I would mostly study Monday through Fridays. I would start my day, I would wake up maybe around 7, but I wouldn't start studying till like 9 or 10. Once I would study, through all my resources, I would have split up what I'm going to do each day for that resource, and I would have a checklist. So I would work towards that for the full day. Once it got past my first month, because I only studied for 2 months, I started having longer days. So I was studying maybe to 8 or 9, sometimes 10 or 11, depending if I was completing everything on my checklist. Most of the time I would not get to finish everything that I had on my checklist, but it was still good to do just to know what I was keeping up with and what I was falling behind in. And then for Saturdays I would reserve that time for practice exams. And Sundays, if I got to it, sometimes I really wouldn't. I would review what I was getting wrong on the practice exams. But most of the time, Sundays, I was taking it off. I wasn't studying or doing anything.
I had Sundays off too. And I made sure that every day, no matter what, I would look at lower. No matter what. So I try to look for little things. Maybe read 3 pages or 4, maybe 10, or just look at some PowerPoints. But try to do lower every day.
Yeah. I did the same. I would wake up around maybe 7:30 and I wouldn't start until 9. I would have breakfast, kind of meditate, think a little bit, pray, get myself together, and then I would start. And I would always start with lower, and then I would do gross at least a few hours, maybe from 9 to 12:30 or something. I would just only do anatomy. And then I would just hit the USMLE book and just go through because it sections it. So it'll start with physiology and then it'll do pathology, hit a little micro. So I would just go through the book until I got tired, which would be around 6:30-ish. Then every single day, I don't care how stressed I was, I'm making my dinner and I'm watching my favorite show, go for a walk, whatever it is. I don't care how stressed I was. I always did that. Then I would come back maybe around 8 p.m. and then I'd start doing questions or anything in gross that I didn't understand and kind of frustrated me earlier in the day, or just anything I needed to touch. And then Sundays I always took off. Saturdays I would study a little bit, maybe morning to afternoonish, and then just questions. And then as I got closer to the exam, my weekends were mostly just questions. And then you get a little burnt out as you get closer. So there were some days I was like, oh, I'm not doing anything. I'm just doing sketchy for like 5 hours. But I'd hit multiple subjects with sketchy. So that helped also.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very, very true. And it's a great segue to get into the next question, which was, how would you take breaks, or what were things that you did to like stay sane throughout the process?
So for me, like Jana mentioned, I would take breaks for cooking, or I have a puppy, so I would just walk him around the neighborhood. And I think around 6 or 7, that was one of my breaks. I would just go to the gym, or maybe watch TV for an hour.
During the days, I would take breaks to eat, obviously, but
No, you laugh, but people would skip meals.
that's true.
And that's very important.
Yeah. I did make sure to take breaks to eat. I always, just like she said, made sure to end my night every single night. It didn't even matter if it was an off day. I would watch a show, and we were watching How to Get Away with Murder. Yeah. That's because there's so many seasons. Like you have episodes for days. Since our situation was a little unique because we were in the middle of the pandemic, so we had to be quarantined. I made sure to take a walk every day, like just to make sure that I'm active and to get vitamin D, like, you know, that's good for your emotional state and all that stuff. So I would make sure to do that every day. And I also, just like they were mentioning earlier, I started my day every day with daily prayer and just like reminders that I'm like capable of doing this. Like that was the only thing that was keeping me sane, because it's very easy to break down any of the days that you're studying, because there's a million days that and a million hours that you're studying. So just reminding yourself, you know, that you got this. And I would do that I would start my day like that every day.
Take your breaks, I'd eat, I'd make my favorite food. I would be in that kitchen with my music, you know, get a little glass of wine, relax. Every night, I don't care what was going on, I was going to watch my show. I think we were also watching, Lock and Key at that time?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. That was
I'm watching my show, and I'm going to get in bed. Maybe, even sometimes I'd get in bed and just be doing the boards vitals on my phone for a little bit. But I would always try to end my night on a chill note, because you know you have to get up the next day to study again.
Yeah, do it all over again.
And one thing for second years that are about to take boards now, for us was different because, I mean, we're still in the middle of the pandemic. So you guys might be able to get together with your group and study together. We weren't able to do that.
No.
So it was very different for us. So take that in consideration, that you guys can meet with whatever person you would like and study with.
That was one of the things that made it the most challenging, like not being able to have a group to like study.
Because we're used to.
Yeah.
We used to study together.
Super hard. How did you spend the week or the days leading up to the board exam?
I feel like it was all a blur.
Yeah, that's true.
Questions. Questions. You have those moments where you're like freaking out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's coming up. Like, I'm sure we all had a few of those, like on the phone with each other.
I know.
But you just have to push through. Do your questions. Have in your head, you know what you know. You've been studying it, and just take that time to solidify what you reviewed for boards.
Monday through Friday, just like she said, I did questions as well. I took the boards vitals bank because by that time I had finished it, I think twice. So I did each day I would take a subject or two, depending on how big or small it was, and put it for that day, and like did all the questions for that, just to remind myself, even though like the questions aren't similar or whatever, but it just shows you what you do and what you don't know. And if you don't know it, you learn it that day and you're ready for the test. The weekend before, I didn't study. I just spent, and I'll put the playlist down below, but there was like a USMLE common image playlist that I had seen another medical student was watching, like for her boards prep, but it was for like medical school boards. But I found it helpful, like with one image, and I thought it was easy to just watch a video instead of like trying to review stuff like the day before the test. So that's what I did the day, and I'll link that down in the description.
I think the day before the test, I took off. I think so. And then the week, I would just hit stuff that I knew. I wasn't, especially farm. So I would hit farm hard. And just the things that I knew, I kind of was like, oh, I don't know yet. I knew, but I wasn't like 100% good with it. So I would hit those. And a lot of questions, of course. And Anki. I think I did Anki.
I did Anki too.
Anki for sure.
Yeah.
I was doing Anki. I still kept up with my Anki throughout that last week because I wasn't finished doing the two sketchy decks.
Oh, in that last week, I went back and I did biochem actually.
Oh, I think I did too.
I did biochem way in the beginning because it's such a small section, and then you kind of forget about it. So that week I went back I did biochem.
I did too.
I forgot that.
And just read through sketchy because you want to remember the picture. Those help a lot. So I would just go through pictures
because it has like symbols and stuff. You'll remember the picture for the test.
Lifesaver.
What did you feel immediately after taking the exam? I still remember how I felt.
Me too.
So for me, I was in a good place with myself because I've been studying for so long. I was in a good relationship with God, and He just gave me the most peaceful mind after I took that exam. I was nervous, but I was just in peace. I don't know. You guys wouldn't understand my peace inside. So it was good. I didn't speak with anyone because, a lot of people would be asking you questions. I got this, I got this. And then I answered this. Oh, I didn't answer that. And then you would,
start going crazy.
Yes. So please don't do it. Just be grateful that you're done. Enjoy. Don't touch your desk.
Oh no, I did not go near it.
I know.
Just enjoy your time. I know you'll be taking, I think, finals, right?
We had finals right after.
Yeah, that's
Right
true.
after.
Never mind.
That was.
But it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same.
I felt lazier.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too.
I agree.
Me too. I
agree.
definitely did.
But yeah, that's how I felt.
Right after my boards test, I had seen her right when I walked out. I was honestly super confused. I was like, what did I just take? What was that? Like, I don't even know. And I have a video too if you guys haven't seen it, like how I was after and before. And I was calm too because I knew that I did all I could, like all I possibly could to prepare for that test. I was just like flustered. There was a lot of questions that I completely guessed on. So I was just hoping, praying, that I would be fine. I was, thank God. That was a crazy test experience. It was the hardest test I've ever taken. So when I finished it, and I also felt free, like I'm done with this. Hopefully I never have to deal with this again. And yeah.
Oh yeah, that was an eventful day. I mean, I struggled for like 30 minutes on submitting my exam. I was like, no, just submit it. No, wait, don't do it. So I did that for like 30 minutes and then I just submitted. And I had this feeling like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? Because I was like maybe one of like the first people to leave. There were a bunch of people taking different exams.
She definitely was.
I took my time.
We took it at the same place.
Yes,
but
at
I
the same
freak
time.
out. Like when I start going back too much and I start changing answers, I'm like, no, I gotta get out of here. So when I walked out, I automatically felt like, okay, I passed. Like I felt good about it. But then I was like, dang, like I started looking at my time. I'm like, why did I submit something? So you start getting that like panicky feeling. But I was like, you know what? God's got me. I studied. I did all I can, like Gabby and Steph said.
You have to be very positive.
Yeah.
And if you tell yourself, okay, I passed, I study, like Jana said, you kill hours in there studying. So just be positive. I mean, you're gonna feel frustrated. You're gonna feel like you fail. You're gonna feel like, oh my gosh, this wasn't the right answer. Whatever. Yeah. But you got this.
So after all that, we took the test. Now, if you could go back and do anything different, what would you have done differently?
When I was going through the step book for like pathology and even pharm, there's gonna be just some extra stuff in there that like you're gonna be like, what in the world is this? I've never seen this in my life. And I wouldn't spend so much time on trying to remember the little tiny little details. I would just do what I started doing toward the end, where I would read it. Okay, okay. Go to the next and just try to remember the big picture instead of just killing myself over little details.
My big, because we have big little system at Barry, my big had told me to start the December break prior to our spring semester. I didn't listen. I think I ended up fine, but if it were up to me, like, I would have probably started it, maybe not December break, but because I know we're posting this now and you guys are past your December break, but if you just start watching a couple videos a day, so that when you start actually studying for it, it seems like it's more review. Because also, I didn't use Sketchy when I was actually taking the micro class or the farm class. So if you used it before and you go over it again, you're going to be a pro at Sketchy. So if you could start that early, I would. Also, I had a Boards and Beyond subscription, and like I said, it's videos that go along with your USMLE. It got very overwhelming, but it is a great resource. It has amazing videos that explain, like the professor that is making the doctor that's making the videos, he does explain all the topics super well. I just couldn't fit all those videos in the time that I had, the 2-month time that I had. So if you are planning to use that resource, make sure you start with time so that you have enough time to get through the USMLE book and all of those things.
I have to agree with Gabby with micro and farm, because I didn't want to do farm because it was too long. But then after I decided to do it, I was like, damn, I should have started earlier.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it will take you a long time to watch them, but let me tell you, they are amazing. So I wish I would have started before, even with micro, because we never. I never really used them in my class. So I wish I would have done that, like Jana said, with this book, the USMLE. Because I did kind of the same as Jana, so I would just read them through it, and I would just get stuck in the tiniest detail.
Yeah.
And even I would start reading and trying to learn new things that weren't even part of our exam.
Yeah.
Just because you get so nervous and you be the way you think, you'll be like, oh my gosh, what if I get a question,
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So you just want to do it all. Don't do that.
Can I add something about Sketchy?
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was doing Sketchy Farm, and I'd be like, you guys,
Yeah.
do Sketchy Farm.
Every time.
Even when I
She
was
was.
taking the class. So that was what, like, I don't even remember what
Like
year
just-
that was.
That was the
Semester.
fall.
Yeah.
It was the semester before
Yeah.
fall.
So I kind of had a background a little bit
Mhm.
with the Sketchy Farm, and when I was going back over those for boards, I was like, I know this. So
Yeah.
I didn't have to spend a lot of time doing farm. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
I listened to
Start
it too late.
early
Yeah.
on
Way too
Sketchy.
late. Way too late.
It helps so much. It's a
It does.
lifesaver.
Even now in
Yeah.
clinics, I still remember whenever they mention a drug, I still
Mhm.
remember the sketch.
I'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, the thing in the picture.
And even the Anki decks that go with it, if you start it early, because the thing is that the way that program works is like if you're consistently using it over time, that's when it gets even better. Like you're like, oh, I've seen this card a million times. I know this. So the earlier you start it, the better. Now this card is for you guys specifically, so listen good. We're giving you a #1 tip for taking the boards. My tip is to truly believe in yourself. Like truly believe that you can do that, like you can pass the test. It's all not just preparing for the test and learning the material, but it's like a mental challenge. The whole process is a mental challenge. You really have to build up your mentality to like passing the test. You can be 100% prepared to pass the test, and if you go in and you have a panic attack and start thinking or doubting yourself like, oh, I'm not going to pass, you can just not pass. So every single day, hype yourself up, write whatever you want to accomplish on a paper. Before you even start studying, before you do anything for the process, just write down your goals. In my opening my boards video, I showed you guys the piece of paper that I had in front of me every single day. I read it every single day. I was going to become a pro at lower farm. I picked like top 3 things that I was farm and micro I was weak at, so I made sure to make those two my priority. I said I was going to pass. I said I was going to get my white coat. So you just have to tell yourself, it's a mental game. Just believe in yourself. That's my tip.
I have to agree with that because I did the same. I had a picture. But if you would go to my desk, like right behind it, I would have my wall. Right in that wall, I would have that. I already passed my boards. I already have my white coat with my name on it. And then I would just write devotional verses from the Bible that would just lift me up. Because it is a mental game. Like if you start thinking, I'm not going to pass, then you're going to start believing in that. And then you're going to be all over the places. So you just be focused, be positive. Just as Gabby was saying, just write whatever you want to become better. I think that's going to help you a lot.
I did the same. In my little notebook, first page, I had a bunch of note cards with, I have my white coat, I'm going to pass, God's got me, I got this. And, you know, I would look at that, I'd tell myself, I know this. Why are you stressing? You have to have that mentality from when you're studying to when you sit down and you start answering. Because if you question yourself for even a minute, it's just like every other exam. When you're like, oh, I don't know, and you start freaking out, you start getting stuff wrong. You start changing answers that were right. Be confident in yourself, be confident in your answers, and you'll be fine.
And surround yourself around people that are going to uplift you, because these ladies, whew, if I didn't have them, I don't even freaking know where I would be. But
it's seriously, we would text each other every day. Just, you know, positive things. So you can do that too with your group.
And it's okay if someone's stressing you out to be like, hey, I can't talk to you right now. You're kind of freaking me out. It's okay to do that too.
Because remember, you're the one taking the exam.
Exactly.
So that's very important.
Another question is, what advice did we get when we were preparing for our boards? Did we listen? Did we not?
Yes and no.
Yeah, yes and no.
People were giving me like it's gonna seem so crazy when you ask, probably watching this video, it feels crazy. Like, you used how many resources? That's how we were. Like, what use? This? No, I'm just using one book. That is not realistic. You're going to use multiple sources. But I think just if you start early enough, you'll be able to say, okay, this doesn't work for me, and you'll be able to switch without consequences. And that's what I ended up doing.
And I feel like you also are going to, while you're studying, you're going to figure things out. Because I would start with some resources, and I'll be like, no, this is not going to work for me. And I would just stick to what I'm doing. And I remember, like, maybe the last month, people would be sending me stuff, and I'll be like, no, I'm just going to stick with this because I'm used to this. It's going to work out. Just try to stick with something that you know is going to work for you. Because you would want to use, okay, you have notes. Okay, I'm going to use that. Oh, someone sent me this other notes. I would want to use that too. Just
too overwhelming.
Too much. Too much, because every note is going to be different. So just stick with something.
Definitely, like, when you are hearing this video, make sure you remember, like, every person is different. Even us three, that's why I made sure to get, like, them to also tell you how they studied and what they use, because everyone is different at the end of the day. And just because someone is studying a certain way or has a certain schedule or is using a resource that you're not using, don't let it make you feel any type of way. Remember that they are preparing for it just like you're preparing for it. It's not like they've taken it already. They've already passed. Their way is the only way. So always keep that in mind. Obviously, you know, people are giving you advice or tips to try to help you out, try to give you options so that you do know, like, okay, I have this if I want to use it or whatever. But just remember, like, you have to put yourself first, know what works for you. If you are an early studier, study in the morning. If you're a late studier, study at night. Do whatever works for you as long as it's working. So.
And a big example is they love Quizlets. I hate them.
Depending on the one.
It's not that I hate them, they just don't work on me. So that's a big example. So just do whatever works for you.
And you might have to switch the way you study for your exams in classes versus your board study, because I would like draw a lot and like write a lot for just my classes, but in boards you don't have time for that. Like,
that's true.
You're like, nope, next. highlight. I was afraid to highlight my USMLE book.
Mine
I'm
is all
I'm selling this
highlighted.
back.
Mine is
And
filled up
written
with
down
notes.
everything.
Yeah, and my book is like trashed now because I would highlight, erase, circle, and I've never done that in life. Like I was the kid where my textbook was like perfect at the end of the year, but you have to like change what you're doing sometimes.
Yeah.
And when we say start early, like that doesn't mean like you have to be 8 to 6
Yeah.
from March. Like when I say I started in March, I mean like I had my sketchies on deck, like I knew a few things, paid a little more attention in this class, but
Yeah.
don't burn yourself out either.
That's
I
very
wouldn't
true.
start too early
Yeah.
because, as Dana said, you're gonna burn out.
Especially Berry students with your classes. Do well in your finals.
Because the thing is, you have to remember burnout is real. Like, it's hard to keep going and going every single day. And you have a decent, I would say 2 months is a good amount of time, depending.
Yeah, to really
How you manage your time.
Especially if that's like the only thing that you're doing. But I know, like there could be heavier loads in the semester depending on what school you go to, stuff like that. So keep all those things in mind when you're like doing your schedule. If there's any students watching this who have already taken the boards, if you have any great tips, leave them down below for students who are going to take them. That would be great. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry if it's long, but I'm sure you guys will appreciate it.
Just doing it for you guys.
Yes, and thank you ladies so much for
you for
doing
inviting
this
us.
with me. Yes. So if you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you have any other questions, just leave them down below and we will be sure to get back to you.
Bye.
Adios. Bye.